Savarkar is one of the most fiercely contested figures of history, but also of modern politics. Savarkar's supporters make the case that he was a revolutionary, a brave heart who never got his due. Savarkar's critics say that he was somebody who appealed for mercy to the British, and he was also the original mascot of Hindutva. Now, a new book by veteran journalist and editor and also former minister in the Vajpayee government, Arun Shourie, called The New Icon, seeks once again to separate fact from fiction, myth from reality when it comes to Veer Savarkar. The book has triggered a fresh debate around Savarkar's legacy. It remains a polarizing conversation. Is there a space that we can find in this conversation with Mr. Arun Shourie that looks factually, dispassionately at what Savarkar actually stood for, what he did right, and what he got wrong? Arun Shourie, it's a pleasure talking to you, and congratulations on yet another book. Before we get into the book itself, let me start by asking you a more general question. I was reading a bunch of reviews on the book, and it seems that many people are reviewing your book through a political lens. In other words, they see you today as a critic of the Modi government, and they analyze your book in that context. Do you think that that's a fair way to also bring your politics into the book? For example, a review in First Post said, this book is as much about the contradictions of Savarkar as it is about the contradictions of Arun Shourie.
The fool who wrote that sentence or review, so you call it, wrote it before he read the book. The book was not even out when that thing was sent to me. What kind of review is this? People have not read the book. What has it to do with any politics? It has to do with Hinduism. It has to do with our history, with our freedom movement. But we have heard of anticipatory bail. Now the fashion is anticipatory abuse.
Have you been getting a lot of abuse for the book?
No. I'm told about these sentences. This particular sentence is quoted again and again. It's obvious that the fellow has not read the book, and because the book was not even out then.
Let's get to the.
But it's an important point, Barkha, that it is our job to read,
of course,
analyze, to study, and yes, the answer, as Mr. Bajpayee used to say, whom they have forgotten, the answer to a book is a better book. Supposing my facts are wrong, have a better book, giving the others facts.
Absolutely.
I have faced these things since the Indian Express days. You remember? There would always be some allegation. Oh, you are against Mrs. Gandhi. You are against the Gandhi family. You are against the other. The facts. Bhagalpur blindings, it was said that we are trying to demoralize the Indian police.
Yeah.
And the fact, in Antule's case, no, just one second. In Antule's case, it was said that because Antule opposed American arms aid to Pakistan, therefore I was attacking Antule. Beiwa.
I think as journalists, we always get bizarre theories for our intent. But in this case, because you're also seen as a political public figure, I guess the debate gets much more ferocious. But let's get to the book. I want to start not at the beginning, but the end of the book. The book ends with an appeal, and that appeal is save Hinduism from Hindutva, right? But in fact, Savarkar is kind of a very complicated, paradoxical figure, as your book encapsulates. He, for example, does oppose the caste system, something that you speak about. He's not a big fan of this blind, fanatical attachment to cow worship. He talks about even beef eating, and he says it's less about religion and more about economics, right? More about the need for food. Now, when you look at Savarkar, do you see a linear Hindutva mascot, or do you see, as your book also captures some of these paradoxes, a contradictory figure?
No, everybody is a compendium of many things. And what I certainly greatly admire about Savarkar is his rationalism, not only on cows, but on our rituals, on burning ghee, burning wood to propitiate non-existent gods. Similarly, of circumambulating the temple. He said, don't do that. Go to the basti of the untouchables and circumambulate that and go there and treat them as you and deal with them. Associate with them the way you would deal with anybody else. Now, what a wonderful thing. And he did that himself. He organized bhajans of different castes together. Now, this is not contradictory. This is a consistent view about our beliefs and practices. And, Barkha, the reason these fellows who are abusing don't want these things to be out about Savarkar is that they are not only practicing, but um, they are propagating this as the essence of Hinduism. In my view, the essence of all Indic religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, is the inner directed search, which I've tried to suggest. And everything else, mantra, idol worship, anything, is pilgrimage. These are all aids to that inner directed search. And that is being given up for not even a political purpose. It is for getting these damned votes. And it is for getting your advertisement, full page advertisements with the chief minister and prime minister and Char Dham Yatra, Baiva. That is Hinduism.
Your book is called The New Icon. Why is Savarkar, I understand, of course, you mean that he's been weaponized, as it were, as a political icon for our times, but he has been, from the beginning, a fiercely contested figure. He's been, from the beginning, a fiercely contested figure.
He was nobody. He's picked up and built by the British. Otherwise, it is a small group in Maharashtra mainly, which which idolized him, which was influenced by him. He is a very important person in Marathi literature. Lata Mangeshkar and others sang his songs. But that did not make him a great political figure. And this business of his being a contentious figure and all this is a way of, not going into the merits of the issue, but just saying big controversy here.
So what are the merits of the issue? When you were researching for this book, right, what did you discover that surprised you, that you did not know about Savarkar or you hadn't read about Savarkar?
Well, I did not know about his rationalism to this extent. Secondly, I did not know, everybody just focused on those 7, not 1, but 7 mercy petitions. Everybody keeps writing, is it right, is it wrong, is it part of a strategy? And so, but I did not know that he had carried on a long correspondence and meetings with the Viceroy and other British officials to get some posts for his people. In the British Indian, at that time, it's called the Viceroy's Council. It means the cabinet. I did not know that. And it was not one stray letter. It was over time, 2.5 years, till the British get annoyed and till the British feel that actually this person is a man of little influence. That's, as you will see, the director of the intelligence bureau at that time, a very strong man called Pildich, he writes that the Hindu Mahasabha and Savarkar and all these are persons of very little value. They cannot stand up. And the people are still gravitating to Gandhi, still gravitating to the Congress. And these were foils which the British used to divide the national movement and to denigrate Gandhi. And Subhash Chandra Bose has a very telling passage, if you see in that in the book, as to how whenever they need the British, there are these 2 main political parties. The Congress is the main political party, and this Netaji writes when he is effectively been thrown out of the Congress. The Congress is the national movement. But whenever the British need, they build up other parties, which are communal parties, Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha. They have very little following. But And the British built up individuals for the Round Table Conference, for
Mm.
those who can denigrate Gandhi and the national movement. And at that time, you say contentious figure, this, that, and at the beginning. Actually, if it were a contentious figure, it would mean there are two sides, some for him, some against him. Is that in the elections? In the elections of 1937, Savarkar's, there are 1,540 seats that are contested. Savarkar gets how many? 3 seats. In 1945-46 elections, the same number of seats are to be contested. He gets how many? Please look up. Even in Maharashtra, he's just not able to make a great headway. In the Congress, in the Hindu seats, the Congress wins. In the 1937 elections, even in the Muslim seats, the Congress wins. Congress means not as a political party, but as a national movement. So when you say there was contention, there was actually no contention about Savarkar at that time. It is today, when he's being resurrected for what you would call political purposes, and you're trying to see my politics, it is now that people are just contentious figure because they cannot defend what he was doing. They said it's a controversy. There are two sides to every issue, including this one.
Let's talk about the mercy petitions. So his supporters make the argument, and some of them have also written entire books on him, like you, from a different perspective. They make the argument that when it came to these mercy petitions, Savarkar was invoking his legal rights as a political prisoner. They also say that the Savarkar brothers wrote to Mahatma Gandhi and requested his intervention, and Gandhi did at one point intervene and advocate on their behalf.
What a foolish thing. Can't we even look up this? Already, this has been answered. You see, when does Savarkar start writing? When is he put into... Firstly, I'm not against mercy petitions. The conditions were absolutely horrible. I would have probably, begged for mercy, please get me out of here. I would not have rationalized it. I would have owned them up. I would have written about them if I were writing that thick a memoir of my years in the cellular jail called My Transportation for Life. He writes everything, but not the mercy petitions. But anyhow, the fact of the matter is, Savarkar is taken in 2010. Okay? He writes his first mercy petition within 2 months of being there. 2 months. Where is Gandhiji at that time? Where? He's not in India.
Correct.
He's in South Africa.
1910. You said 2010, 1910.
Sorry, 1910. I'm so sorry. 1910.
Yeah.
So he's in South Africa. Now, Savarkar writes, and everybody knows that they were allowed 1 letter a year. 1 letter to their family in 1 year. Okay? So only 2 months have elapsed. He's not allowed to write to Gandhi. Gandhi certainly cannot correspond with him. So where is this question of somebody who does not know, has not examined anything, cannot defend the petitions, isn't it Gandhi ka kehne par likha tha, Bhaiwa. Now, what happens is much, much, much later, after Savarkar has signed 6 petitions, his brother has, his brother outside, Narayan, they have signed petitions, perfectly legitimate. Then the brother who's outside writes to Gandhiji. And Gandhiji says that, look here, he said, this brother is asking him, what should we do? So Gandhiji says, Bhaiya, the brothers have said that they are there for political purpose, as political prisoners. So they should plead on that ground that they are political prisoners, and a general amnesty has been announced for political prisoners. So why not? That is all. It's in answer to a question. It's not at the instigation of Gandhi. At that time, as Rajmohan Gandhi, who was a master of all these weekly things that happened at the time, he's pointed out at that time, Gandhiji was actually for the boycott of British people, for people going into jail. That was the time of Rowlatt Commission. That was the time when Gandhiji was leading the movement against the Rowlatt Act. That was the time when Jallianwala Bagh had happened. And Gandhiji was saying that you must, to oppose this, he was going from village to village in Punjab, asking people to stand up, saying India has been insulted. And you say that in Savarkar's case, he will say, Acha bhaiya, tum mercy petition likh do. You know what? Somebody should at least at some stage stop spreading these idiotic lies. Idiotic lies. It's not even lies.
Why do you think, since your book is called New Icon, that Savarkar has been resurrected in an incomplete way? Because as you said in the beginning, his resistance to the caste movement, the caste hierarchies, or even to the sort of fanatical blindness around cow worship, these are not the parts of his history that are being weaponized or resurrected today. It is the Hindutva-centric part of Savarkar that is being resurrected. But in Maharashtra, there would possibly be a cross-party, cross-party respect for Savarkar. Outside of Maharashtra, it's a very different conversation. Why would present politics need Savarkar as a new icon?
Firstly, because these the sort of ancestors of the present rulers did not participate in the national movement. So they want to build up anybody who did not participate. Saying, oh, there were so many streams. And you see, actually speaking, do you know, Barkha, that there was an underground movement precisely because it was a secret movement. Therefore, people don't know about it. But it was this secret movement which brought about, which brought panic to the British, and they left. This is the way these things are put. Because if it was secret, you can't know, I can't know, and anything can be claimed. So many persons are said to have posed the emergency because they did it secretly. That is one point. Second point is that I feel there is a real compulsion among the present persons to erase Gandhi. Because Panditji is not a problem. Sardar Patel is certainly not a problem. But Gandhiji is a problem. Because Gandhiji is seen even today by large sections to be an embodiment of the best in Hinduism. And the principles for which he stood, ethics, truth, these are anathema to the present rulers and to the ruling class. People controlling the institutions and of discourse today, in institutions including the press. So, therefore, you have to erase Gandhi. So anybody opposing Gandhiji, and this Mr. Savarkar used to spit at Gandhiji. Chalta phirta plague hai. Pagal hai. That he gets fits in his brain, unreasonable fits, and then he, jo bhi man mein aata hai, wo bak deta hai. This is what he writes.
And yet you point out that he also claimed a friendship with Gandhiji in London, which you say was untrue.
But naturally, completely, this is the statement on oath. I just took 5 sentences as an example. At the time of when he is also arraigned in the trial of assassination of Gandhiji. So he said, oh, how far-fetched is this, how wrong this is, that I'm blamed for the assassination of Gandhiji. But actually, we lived together as friends in India House in 1908. Gandhiji was not in London in 1908. He was not there in 1907. He came there in 1906, a few months after India House had been established, in 1905. He comes in 1906, and he wrote in 6 weeks that he was there. He wrote, as a biography of Gandhi says, 5,000 letters. So you know minute by minute what he is doing. And he writes, we landed yesterday, we came to India House, we spent one night, but this is very remote place we have to meet people in central London. So we have shifted to Cecil Hotel. There's a letter there. You know that it's only one night. And so you can trace every day of 1906. Gandhi goes back. 1907, he doesn't come. 1908, he doesn't come. 1909, he comes. But 10 days before he comes, Curzon Wiley has been killed by an understudy of Savarkar in a function that the Indians organized, to which they invited others, including Curzon Wiley, and he's killed. And Gandhiji had been introduced to Curzon Wiley, who was the ADC to the Secretary of State for India, Lord Maudley at that time. He's incensed. Murder, assassination of a guest whom we have invited to our function, and this man whom I knew, and my own mission here to plead with these British MPs and others for the cause of South Asians in South Africa. All that has become complicated. And Savarkar himself writes in that book, Chitragupta, the book, that once this murder took place, it was all over Britain, and that India House became the focus of Scotland Yard's surveillance. And the street, they would note down who is the person coming in, even on the street. You think at that time Gandhiji will go and stay there? So 1909, he does not stay there. He could not have stayed there. More important, he does not return to England till August 1914. But Savarkar has already been arrested and sent to India in 1910, January. So where is this question of living together as friends? And so on. Every single sentence there, as I mentioned, that it just does not stand up to scrutiny.
Your book also says that Savarkar asks the British to induct the Hindu Mahasabha into the Viceroy Executive Council.
Yes. And I do not just say, no, I don't, Barkha, I don't just say that. I reproduce letter after letter after letter, and the record of the Viceroy of what Savarkar told him. And the Viceroy twice uses, after meeting Savarkar, he's quite surprised that this man who's a great revolutionary and all this is actually prepared to, dilute all the demands that they had been making. And he twice uses in one cable to the Secretary of State. See, what happens is Savarkar meets the Viceroy records all that and sends a cable to the Secretary of State for India in London. In that, he twice uses the word, and then he begged me, and then he begged me. Now, and this is not one letter or one meeting. This is a series going on, and therefore, everybody is focused on these mercy petitions. I think, okay, we have dealt with that. It certainly had nothing to do with Gandhiji, etc. But the more important thing is this correspondence and these meetings. That's where he is asking for the seats in the Executive Council, and he says actually, sir, you can nominate anybody. I will send you some names. You pick up anybody. Just give me a little information a little before you announce, so that he can claim as president of the Hindu Mahasabha, I have nominated Barkha, etc. So these are, that's why all the credit for unearthing these in London, where you are, is actually to my good friend and your friend, I'm sure, Sanjay Suri, who used to be our chief reporter in Indian Express when I was there. And he is the one who helped excavate all these documents. So it's not one letter. And I reproduce these because I know these other fellows will say, oh, he's taking one sentence. He's reproducing one meeting, one letter. No, it's a consistent record till the British get tired. And they say that because the Congress and Muslim League are opposing this whole idea of expansion of the Executive Council, we have to, with great reluctance, abandon this.
You also challenge his
If
account.
I may just, one
Sorry,
more
sorry,
sentence, if I may tell
sorry,
you.
sorry. Yeah.
You see, the Savarkar is based in Thane and in Bombay,
Hmm,
and the governor of Bombay is a very astute man, Lumley.
hmm,
He writes to Lindithko that you are trying to approach this person. You are even saying you will go to meet him. Well, don't do it. He's not a man of much consequence, and you'd be giving things to the wrong person. So Lindithko writes to him. It's a telling sentence. You know that we at this time, when we are being opposed by the Congress, that's the national movement, and the war is on, and we have to get everybody together. We cannot confine ourselves to the persons whom we want, but to those who are available. This is the reason why he says, okay, we have to humor this man. And eventually they realize that actually the person is not able to be a great counter to to Gandhiji, and the Hindu Mahasabha is nothing compared to the national movement of the embodied in the Congress. Therefore, Lindithko even stops writing, replying to his letters, long letters,
hmm.
and asks his secretary, you please reply to him.
You also challenged Savarkar's account of Netaji and the claim that he was the one who advised Netaji to form the Indian National Army and to leave India. So, talk a little bit about that.
Barkha, what happened is Savarkar had set up a group called Abhinav Bharat, which was the sort of
Correct.
core of the revolution. Now India has become independent. He is winding up. He can't say, I now will continue a revolutionary group. So there's a function to wind up this organization. The function is held in over 3 days in Pune. And Savarkar speaks on each day. And it is the editors say that thousands, in one case 1 lakh of people came to listen to him, etc. During that period, during those lectures, he claims this: कि मेरी सूचना पर, on my information, on my sort of counsel, Subhash Chandra Bose did this, that, and the other. Escape. Don't get involved in small movements, small little agitations. Escape. Go to Germany or go outside India. With the help of German and Japanese governments, set up, the national army through the POWs, using the POWs who are with Germany and Japan, Indians. You then bring them via from Burma or from the Bay of Bengal. Then by that time, I would have inflamed the Indians. So when you attack from Burma, Indians will rise in revolt. The British will be caught in a pincer. And you see, by that time, I would have put Hindus in the British Indian Army, and they would be in Burma. So they will refuse to fire on your soldiers, the INS soldiers, and instead they will turn their guns on the British. And the Indian British soldiers in the British Army will defect and join the Indian National Army. All this, Savarkar says, he primed Netaji on this. Every single thing about this is wrong. First, Netaji does escape, and that on all accounts is his own idea. He has been interested in um, military affairs since he was in college or school. He has been arguing within the Congress all the time that we must get the support of external forces opposed to Britain, because we cannot dislodge these people on our own. He goes to Germany. Do you know how long it took him to get an interview with Hitler? He had to keep waiting for 1 year. Savarkar, of course, thanks Hitler and Tojo for having given help to the Indian freedom movement, including them. Pata nahi kahan se. Anyhow, he gets an interview. By that time, for many years earlier, And a free India Legion has already been formed out of POWs that Germany has in its own hands.
Hmm.
It's a very small group. Hitler says it is a joke. They are not given any combat duties. He does not let them get any great armaments because he says they don't have any fighting ability. We don't
Hmm.
have to agree with Hitler, but that's what happened. He gives them some vehicles, 6 guns, and 700 horses to meet the tanks and the aircraft. And when Netaji meets him, photo opportunity, and then he puts him in a submarine and sends him where? To Japan. And simultaneously tell the Japanese, no, no, don't come to India.
Hmm.
No need. Go to New Zealand. Why? Because he has great contempt for India and Indians. And
Hmm.
he feels all the time, and he says this many times, that the loss of of the British of India will mean that a white race has been defeated by a yellow plus a brown race. That's terrible. So he is sent there. So now that's in 1943. But the foundation of INA has already begun in 1941. And then, quite correctly, because of Netaji's great standing and great acumen, the persons who were involved in setting it up, the Japanese also invite Netaji to take leadership of the INA. And Netaji then comes. And then when the forces come into Burma, these INA people, along with the Japanese forces, come in. There is no defection from the Indian army to the British Indian army to the INA. As Savarkar had said, there is no rebellion that rises within India to support that movement.
Hmm.
And most important, as there's a very good book, the authoritative book on this is by Srinath Raghavan. The problem is nobody reads. He's our best military historian. And he says INA was not given any combat role by the Japanese.
Hmm.
So much so that Shah Nawaz Khan had to protest to Netaji, we are doing nothing. Then they are sent in some place. So what happens is there are no defections. And when the INA soldiers come in front, the Indian army soldiers deal with them with the same brutal sternness as they deal with the Japanese. So what part of Savarkar's great strategic thinking, which Netaji is said to be following, is borne out by the facts?
Hmm. Uh, the inconvenient parts of Savarkar's history that are not quoted by his supporters today, or at least his political supporters, are his views on caste and cow worship.
No, no. On his views on untouchability, even more so, you see, everybody is going on about cows. Yes, cow is one thing, but in his case, it is an example of the wrong beliefs, of praying to idols, of praying to this 9 planets, Navagrah. All these things he ridicules. I'm using the word ridicule. He doesn't just criticize them. He, in that sense, is a real reformer. Why don't we recognize that? Because it doesn't suit the political purposes. You're attributing political purpose to me, but it is the political purpose of
I am not
yeah, I mean,
attributing. I
his
am not
character,
attributing.
social
I
media fellows. No,
Yeah.
so they, it is Savarkar wants us to grow out of these beliefs, and he says, "Ki, don't go on citing books, pothiyan. इसी ने पोथीवाद को छोड़ो. Think for yourselves. The test is, and there are two tests, he says. Is it borne out by what we now know through science, for instance, through observation? Those books were very important. They were a very important part of our heritage, but they represent knowledge and inference of the time at which they were written. And those books have contradictions because they are not, it's not frozen in stone, not carved in stone, the book. As new knowledge came, things were interpolated. And he gives me examples from Manusmriti. He says, see, it says this, then it will say something else is added later on, contradicting the previous verse. Because society had evolved, new experiences come. So one is science. Second is our own experience of living those teachings. For instance, and he gives an example of Somnath and of the Nalanda library. Let's take both Hindu and Buddhist. He says, the priests kept chanting. Did the chanting prevent Ghazni from getting a hold of the temple, destroying the temple? In Nalanda, there were so many good scholars, great scholars, libraries full of books. Did anything help the destruction of, stop the destruction of Nalanda? No. So learn from experience. In that case, for instance, the inference is, therefore, do not rely on any of these superstitious beliefs. Arm yourselves, be mighty, and this, that, and the other. Separate matter. But what he's wanting us to learn is, don't rely just on books, just because it's an old book, just because it is written in Sanskrit. No, think for yourself, scientific. And the third criterion always, of course, is that does your belief, does your practice establish Hindu Rashtra or not?
But it's kind of an interesting contradiction, right? Because today, the entire discourse around Hindutva is focused on many of the blind beliefs that Savarkar, in fact, challenged as a rationalist.
Yes, precisely. Precisely. That's the point. Therefore, I think that this invocation of Savarkar is completely hypocritical, because they don't want to look him in the eye.
Looked him in the eye, what would they see?
They would see a rationalist. They would see a person who believes in reading and writing. These people revel in their illiteracy. They would also see a person who would, whose record they would want to hide. The bulk of whose record they would want to hide. And therefore, but they would also see a very convenient precedent of myth-making. So they would then do what they accuse me of doing, of selective, etc. They would have to do it.
Well, Arun Shourie, it's always fascinating to speak to you. I don't know how you managed to be so prolific with your books. Arun Shourie's new book on Veer Savarkar, The New Icon, seeks to separate myth from fact and rhetoric from reality. Do read it. It doesn't matter if you agree with him or not. The one thing that Mr. Shourie would urge everybody to do is to read more, not just his books, but everybody's books. If you disagree with him, write a better book, as we said right at the beginning of the conversation. Thank you so much, sir. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Barkha, always. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Take care. Bye. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.